equal to what Europe purchases on an afternoon. Uh, Besides, what will be in one's country's interest, there are permanent interests in diplomacy. Diplomacy is second only to war, and there's only one thing common in diplomacy. Um, it is your interests, your national interests, and the manner in which you pursue your relations with friends. Like it has been famously said, you do not have permanent friends, you do not have permanent enemies, but you have permanent interests. And those will be guiding, those will be continuing to guide India's foreign policy. Ambassador Hojayev very eloquently spoke about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The whole world is a family. I'll go a step further and say Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavantu. This country, as a matter of abiding faith, believed in the whole world being an interdependent family. We again think like Russia when we talk about a just and equitable international order, and that includes a reform of the United Nations Security Council. The global community cannot ignore a country with a population of 1.5, close to 1.55 billion people, almost more than a sixth of humanity. If we are not there on the Security Council as a permanent member, how are at least 1/6 of the global problem areas are being left unattended at a minimum? So our Russian friends have openly spoken about their support to India's candidature to the Security Council as a permanent member. Major powers are there. There is one that is dilly-dallying, and you know which one and why. I need not delve too much into the Middle Kingdom and what its plans are. But again, I agree that there should be no neo-colonial hegemony of whatever kind. Our relations with Russia are solid and time-tested, and I'm sure they'll grow further. I'll not take more than a minute. We are endeavoring in India for a Vikasit Bharat. In 2047, we celebrate 100 years of Indian independence, and in this phase of India's existence as an independent nation state, and we will rise higher for sure, given the young talent that is there in India and the skills that are there in India. Life in India, when I joined the Foreign Service some 36 years ago, was very different from what it is today. We didn't have money to repay our interests for the loans that we took from the IMF and the World Bank. And today we are net gifters of money to the World Bank and the IMF, major contributors in fact in several areas. So it gives me great pride today. We were in a debt trap in 1990. Think about it, not very long ago. But inexorably, India's population, which was seen as a burden some 35 years ago, will likely be something that will provide a distinct demographic dividend. I have no doubt whatsoever, being one of the centers, important centers of science, technology and innovation. We'll be among the leaders even in artificial intelligence. The Prime Minister spoke in Paris last night. I'm sure you are aware of what he had to say. I'll stop here, and if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. I'll of course be associated with the festival, and with great pleasure I wish to congratulate all from the Alliance University for pulling this forward. Professor Anirudh is young, dynamic from Oxford. My particular thanks go to Ambassador Hojayev, who took time off to be present with us this afternoon, and it is a little overwhelming to see so many journalists. I hope Dr. Abhay Cheppi has the required time to be able to field a few questions from all. Thank you very much.
Back to the theme of the festival that both our excellencies and our Pro-Chancellor has opened up. So, in a sense, we're looking at the Asian century as something that's already here. But in terms of last year's meeting in Kazan, the point of the BRICS still remains a great question to be answered, right? So, what are we as countries? We're not in the same place. We are dispersed around the world. But what is the positive goal of BRICS is a great question, and what is the positive goal of the Asian century is also a great question. Is it just an economic alliance? Is it a geostrategic alliance? Or is there a positive worldview that the BRICS and Asia as such brings to the table? And these are all great questions that we want to ponder. Is it going to be an alternative to the rules-based world order? Is it going to be based on international law? But international law is a kind of Westphalian consensus of countries that were grouped together geographically, but we are not grouped together geographically. So in a sense, BRICS is possible because of the modern world, because of the internet and because of modern technology and our ability to be connected with nations that are otherwise not physically connected to us. So is it going to be based on human rights? But human rights is a concept that has been used to justify bombings in Serbia, Iraq, Libya. So is that the way we want to go? Or are we going to sort of acknowledge the idea that countries align with each other economically, but there are moral underpinnings to these economic alliances? So ultimately, we want to not answer these questions, but ultimately Alliance University wants to be the sort of epicenter where these questions are pondered, either in the festival that Mr. Abhay Cheppi spoke about, or in our Eurasian Center, where you want to basically be a sort of intellectual hub where we ponder these questions, the positive role of BRICS and Asia in the world. What is it going to be? And maybe I can throw it over to Dr. Julien Barrette for one line or two on our Eurasian Center, which will actually be taking the intellectual leadership and charge at Alliance University over these subjects. Before we throw it open for questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Anirudh. I have the privilege of serving at Alliance University under the guidance of two visionaries, Mr. Abhay and Dr. Anirudh, who have this capacity of forward thinking, because power dynamics are fast evolving, and power centers are shifting from the Atlantic to Asia Pacific very fast. And as I was explaining, Russia and India have a special and privileged relationship for a very long time, even before the collapse of the USSR. It was the case already. But we do believe that the potential of cooperation between Russia and India is still underexploited, and especially in the field of education, culture, science, and there is a big room for improvement. For example, how many Indian students speak Russian fluently? How many are able to understand from the inside Russian culture, and vice versa, obviously. I believe that in order to deepen, to strengthen our ties, it is important to know each other better. And for this reason, fostering a cooperation between Russia and India, and all the Russian-speaking world, if I may say, Ruski mir, as we say in Russian, is extremely important for the future of our country. Because maybe when you were young, for people of your generation, the USA, the UK was the acme, was the peak of success for a career abroad. But for your children today, it is Korea, it is Japan, it is Russia. The world is changing, and new centers of power are emerging. And I believe that Alliance University has this vision of the future, has this vision of openness, to speak with representatives from all around the world, including from Russia, despite the current international situation. And we have this will to cooperate with our Russian friends, Russian partners in India, and also in Russia, and in the Russian world, in Belarus, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, with Russian organizations all around the world, in order to strengthen the ties between India and Russia. This is the reason why, under the leadership of Dr. Anirudh and Mr. Abhay Cheppi, we decided to launch the Alliance Center for Russian Studies in order to welcome Russian scholars, Russian students, to send our own students, scholars, faculty, staff members to Russia as well, and to share our knowledge and to collaborate together in order to create a more fair world order based on collaboration, cooperation, mutual respect, and mutual understanding. And I believe that in this objective, Alliance Literary Festival can also play a role, because in the Alliance Festival, Alliance Literary Festival, everyone is welcome. We respect any opinion, any view, any perspective. We give a room to everyone to speak, and we give also opportunity to our students or attendants to participate, to play a role. It is exactly the role that we want to build for the future. It is how we see India in the future, Russia in the future, Asia and Eurasia in the future. Thank you.
The war is just over. So how do you see the digital industry really improve literature and cultural exchange? Literature cultural exchanges will improve cultural exchange between Russia and India.
This is, I think this question is better to ask my colleagues here, as they are organizing this conference. But anyway, cultural cooperation. Cultural cooperation is actually it is a traditional pillar of our ties. And, this is something that never interrupted. And even here with south of India, we have a lot of events in here. We organize festivals, organize conferences, seminars. All the, this is, and but now we have one more feature in this, as we have new avenues of this collaboration. Just 15 years back, we had only bilaterals. Now we have also the avenue of cultural interaction through various multilateral platforms, and they are becoming ever more important. I mean, first of all, BRICS. As through this platform, we have launched a lot of events, and they are regular. It is not only in culture, it is in sports, in many other areas. This is a vast area, and there is a lot of connection. Just this time, for a couple of days here with the ambassador, we visited, as you mentioned, the Chandrika Foundation. Chandrisala. This is the institution with which we have a very long association. And the Roerich legacy, which is also upheld and maintained by this institution. We are very grateful to them for this. It is very much valuable asset, which belongs to Russia and India, both. I just hope that these forums that you will have regularly also will promote our cultural ties between Russia and India. I think it's maybe better to ask Alliance University how they are going to do this.
Sure. I think it was during the reign of Babur that there was a trade route established, I believe, from the port of Mumbai all the way to St. Petersburg. This is in the 15th century. And what we find is that this was a trade in silk and muslins. India was known for its weaving and its textile. But in the process of this trade relationship, what we find is an entire sea change in the sort of in the architecture of Russian traditional churches coming about in the 15th century. And similarly, we have those changes in architecture being reflected in places like Delhi. So there's a clear link, I think, between economic cooperation and trade and its ramifications in culture, whether it be art or architecture. And I think the point of a festival such as the one that Alliance hosts, but not just a festival, but also sort of centers of intellectual centers like university, contending with these sort of ties that are established first by economic sensibility and cooperation, is that we can actually explore how these economic ties can lead to many sort of cultural minglings and flowerings forth of new sort of cultural ideas as well as artistic explorations, not just between India and Russia, as the Honorable Consul General said, but now that we have a strong forum like BRICS and a sort of Asian identity with ASEAN, as he also mentioned, it's important that we stop sort of hysterically moaning about cultural appropriation and things like this and start cultural appreciation to have a sort of joint cultural growth together as a kind of superstructure over the basic economic ties that bind us.
Just have one quick point to make. See, the cultural cooperation between India and Russia, and for that matter the former Soviet Union, go back a long way. Afanasy Nikitin was a Russian philosopher, poet, author, and scholar who first documented his visits to India. These were followed by very intensive cultural exchanges between India and the Russian Federation, most notably in the last 10 years or so. But as Ambassador Hujayev mentioned, these have now also not been restricted to government exchanges, but also the private sector enterprises, they are also involved. There is a tremendous amount of interest in Indian culture and philosophy in Russia and in the ex-Soviet space for that matter. Indian dance forms till today. Some of the finest Kathak dancers are from Russia. Some of the finest Kuchipudi and Bharatanatyam dancers are from Russia. There has been a lot of interest in Indian films of late. But I would like to believe that India and Russia should invest 10x more money into furthering cultural cooperation than what are the current levels of cooperation. At least when I used to grow up, we used to have so many books on our breakfast table and dining table. I forget some of the titles. Soviet, I think, was one. There were several journals that the Russian embassy would produce in tens of thousands for distribution through the nook and corner of India. I think time has come for Russia to spend more money towards publicity in India and vice versa. Thank you very much, including in films.
Sir, I have one question. Of course, now the alliance, as far as we know in India, you are an educational reformer, of course. You are closely related to education and its reformation and upgrading the skills, the latest skills and all. In what way? And ever since the India has become independence, so we owe to Russia because we know the Indian history, how it has been developed. And we had a lot of influence from Russia and as well as from India also. As you said, the cultural collaboration. See, the Russians have embraced the Indian culture, and you know that the most important Indian culture like Kathak, what you have referred, and all these things have been already accepted by the Russians. And the very famous, I think I want to take his name today because we have celebrated his 100th birthday, Raj Kapoor. It is the only personality in from India, where the Russians have given the due respect for him. And I want to take his name because this year we are celebrating the 100th birthday of Raj Kapoor sir. Raj Kapoor, Dada Saheb Phalke Award, our greatest cinema honor, Raj Kapoor's name also I want to take on this occasion, because, and the second thing sir, you have touched on almost all the important subjects of the future, taking how the future has to be. The one point that is just making me to ask is, the big challenge of the world is sustainability. This is the biggest problem that we are facing on sustainability. But if this particular alliance, what you now have with Russian and India and Russian, I think sustainability is not just an Indian problem, it is a global problem. So how that you want to take the sustainability problem to the next generation, so that the next generation lives in a very lovely atmosphere, and like that, you know what is exactly the threat of sustainability, because that is a big challenge nowadays. I'm telling you have to give it some thought on this sustainability problem. And I want to know with the, I guess, panel, that what ideas you have got to take it forward.
Would you like to go first, Master Play?
Sustainability, as I understand, you mean the preservation of these cultural ties and making them stronger. Yes?
Sustainability of growth, as it were.
Of growth.
Not just culture.
Not just culture.
Not just culture.
This is. Look, we are all talking about the economic potential of this tremendous really. It is tremendous. But you know, if we are looking at the history, it looks like nothing is changing at the moment. But if you look at in a span of 20 years, even 20 years, not more, you will see the great change. And it starts with the tendencies, actually. The tendency now is that Russia has turned fully to the east, and it had to do this because all this romancing with the West, unfortunately, led to a catastrophic situation. And hopefully we will certainly resolve all these issues after some time. No problems can be seized endlessly. But at this point, as I see it, there is a tone and towards East, towards Asia also, towards Africa and Latin America, towards the global majority, as we call it, which, by the way, you see, it depends how you look at this, but if you look at the situation from the point of geopolitical shifts, just looking, even at the period of 10 years, what we have now, just 10 years back, the West had something like, as far as I remember, the G7 countries, they had twice as big economy holistically than BRICS countries. Now the situation has changed. They have something like 20-something%, BRICS almost 40. Look how many nuclear stations are being built at the moment. One of these masterpieces is being built in the south of India, in Kudankulam. And if you look at it, there are 62 or 63. 58 in BRICS plus countries. This is the change. I think the Australian policy, Strategic Policy Institute, they have some kind of tracker of critical technologies. Out of 68 technologies, 67, I don't remember, they are following, you just can have a look. United States are leading in 7. I just looked at it yesterday. And China in 56. By the way, India is the second one in many. So it is certainly, I cannot agree with some of this assessment because, for example, in defense area, you will see there that there is no Russia. But I think Russia has already proved that it can build high-end weapons which are outstanding, which no other countries have at the moment. So a lot of this change that's coming to even to culture. I think this will bring also, this we have a certain layer of culture which is between Russia and India that was created during the last. You just mentioned Afanasy Nikitin, but I think for the last 70 years this is a unique relationship, and never Russia put down India, never India put down Russia. This is a unique relationship. We never had any trade wars or anything. Look, when we are meeting the Indian people of very high ranks here, and Indian scientists, they all are grateful to us. They say, you made a foundation for us to start.
Thank you very much,
So,
sir.
this is, yeah.
Thank you very much for that.
I think culture will go after this also.
This
Will
we can
raise.
discuss.
Will raise. So, will rise.
One more question. Please stick to our ALF related questions, and due to time constraints, please limit it to 2 minutes.
What is your narrative of ALF 4.0?
Of what?
Literature Fest 4.0, it's going to happen in Bangalore.
What's your narrative of the ELF Literary Festival?
The Alliance Literary Festival 4.0. What are your views on the festival? I think it will be more appropriate if either, as the Pro-Chancellor, Dr. Abhay Chambi will be better placed to answer that question.
Right. So, as I mentioned, as I began my brief note, literature, words, these are bridge to different societies, different countries, different contexts, and it can be a medium for a lot of change, and this can bring about a lot of dialogue. As it is, the Alliance Literary Festival 4.0 that we call it, the 4th edition of the Literary Festival that he was referring to, has been bringing writers, poets, authors, translators. In fact, we also partnered with the APLF, the APWT, writers and translators from the Asia Pacific, and had our own version of it. I think literary festival, something like this, and there are many. Bangalore has a literary festival, Bangalore Lit Fest, Jaipur has, and the Alliance University has the Alliance Literary Festival. This is a confluence of people, great minds, who bring about their perspectives, their writings, without inhibitions, without any prejudice, to build a society that is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. This time we're seeing about 25 plus countries represent, with famous writers coming from these different countries, and a lot of writers here from India. I think this is a starting point, and I'm particularly happy that a university is doing something like this. politics. It's usually a city that comes together to do this, but an act where a university takes the precedence and hosts such literary festival is unique, and I hope and wish that many such educational institutions step up to do that. As an outcome, what we feel, ALF can lay a strong foundation for cultural exchanges, exchange of ideas, and more so, build Bangalore as a culture of art and writing. So thank you so much. That's my limited point here.
Just one very quick point along the same lines. The very fact that 25 countries are represented at the Alliance Literary Festival is a statement in itself. There was no reply to a question on Raj Kapoor and his centennial celebrations in Russia. Till today, people at my age, at the age of 60, in Moscow, at a dinner, will sing Mera Juta Hai Japani, Mera Patloon Hai Hindustani, whatever. Sar pe laal topi Rusi, fir bhi dil hai Hindustani. Till today, they sing. So that is the level of cultural depth, and even in the Soviet times, if I had 20 kgs of baggage, if I had 10 books, and if I told the customs I am an Indian diplomat, they would not search my baggage because they would never suspect us. So that is the level of trust and confidence that India and Russia enjoy in each other. Sustainability. Millennium Development Goals were developed by the United Nations to be completed by 2000. I think both India and Russia have done very well in terms of meeting a majority of these sustainability development goals. But I agree with you, at a time when the leading power on Mother Earth wants to withdraw from World Health Organization or to sort of impose tariff barriers for international trade, we'll have to keep our fingers crossed on how open a global society we are. I suppose all these authors and scholars will be debating and discussing these issues when you are talking of a fair and just international economic and financial order. In addition to a fair social order and a cultural order, I think these issues will be of great significance. I think we can take one last question and wrap up. There are no ladies who have asked any questions. Are there any ladies here who would like to?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.